So I don't know who's up first.
I would like to go.
Okay, Tina, if you can just go to the table there, and I
But
think
I'm not
those,
sure.
are those mics hot?
Yeah, I think, yeah, they're
Okay.
green. So, let's have a brief, I have Amy here with me just briefly because I have decided to try to consolidate the wards into one. With that being said, the reason I'm here.
Voting wards.
Thank you.
Sorry, voting wards.
I'm like, wards, what?
I
Okay.
apologize. And in order to do that, I have to have a set election date. And I wanted to make sure that Amy was here because I know budget process, because the election's in June. And from what I can see right now, it's just a school budget, unless the state pops up some sort of referendum question. But with that being said, I have to put a public hearing in the paper this morning to be able to meet the deadline dates. So Amy's here to confirm that she said she could have her budget ready by the April meeting. But I am just wondering if we could get hopefully, a set date so I can go forward with this and put this meeting in for January. I know, very short notice, but the
So why
state
is
just got
it-
back to me.
Why, or do you have to have that information now in public hearing now?
Because, in order for me to be able to meet the deadlines for the state, I have to have it in the January meeting, and I have to have the date set in stone for June 10th.
Which is a reasonable date.
It
and
would be the
it's
same
typical.
date, so if we don't do June 10th, we'd have a possibility of having 2 elections in June, if the state has a pop-up referendum. So,
Could you back up for us that are a little bit lost here?
Sure.
And you're trying to combine the wards.
correct.
Could
I
you
have an
elab-
information sheet if you want to see that.
Just to elaborate for the record, what you're combining.
So we have 4 wards within the municipality, 1, 2, 3, and 4,
Yep.
all different locations.
Yep.
And it has been difficult trying to get people to work these locations. And we've been thinking of consolidating for a while, back when even Heidi was here. We just couldn't find a location that was willing to work with us, that had the parking space available. I do believe I have found that place. I have drawn up a contract with them. It's with a lawyer's office right now, but I do have it with me if you guys want to read it over.
Where's the location?
It's the barn at Woodlawn.
And that replaces what?
All 4 locations. So anybody going to vote will be going to that one location to vote.
What?
Yeah.
What's driving that?
Like I
In a
said,
time that we're
so
trying to make voting easier, we're gonna make it harder?
that's not harder. It definitely. I can give you the consolidation information if you want to read it.
I don't, because I'm troubled by that right out of the gate. Give me more reason to like that idea.
Okay, for cost savings, for one, we're going to be using staff. Instead of using over 40 people that we have to pay for, we're going to be using staff at Woodlawn. So we don't have to we'll probably maybe have 10 employees the most, instead of 40.
To clarify, for the record, could you tell us where these wards are, in case people don't know?
Yep, both wards are
and-
here.
I'm sorry?
1 and 2, 1 and 4 are here.
At City Hall.
Ward 3 is located out at Mancos Baptist Church out on the Bangor Road.
Okay,
And Ward 2 is located at Your Place Community Center, which is behind Sunrise Glass. Those are the 4 locations of the wards. And each ward has to have
Is-
many people.
has there always been 2 wards at City Hall, or
Yeah.
was there
Nope.
a ward elsewhere?
No, it's always been 2 wards here. One's in this location and one's upstairs.
Okay. Depending on where you live is the ward.
Yes, that is correct.
Are people able to change those wards today, or are they not?
You mean, if they change their address, they can change their ward?
Right, but if Joe doesn't like coming to City Hall, he
No.
can't go to another ward?
No.
Right. And, keep talking, what,
Okay.
why,
Accessibility is another thing. It's actually a huge thing here. To be ADA compliant, we've gotten spoken to a few times, regarding like our door situation and the way you enter, the way you exit City Hall is not optimal. Parking has been a huge complaint here. We have a bunch, and I just, think this would be a really good move for the city, to have it all in one location. Because also, to make it easier for even election night counting, just to make sure that, you know, it's the oversight of it. So we're all doing it in one location. Everything will be done by 1 or 2 people instead of 10, you know. I have pretty much all of this listed in this, which I was gonna bring to the meeting in January, if I could get a date set in stone, so I could put the public hearing on.
In the confusion, so I worked for Tina this past year, and I was in Ward 4, which is this ward, right outside the door, and so many people came here when they were supposed to be in another ward in Ellsworth. And
It's
we
very
were trying to-
frustrating for them.
Yeah, and it's very frustrating for the citizens of Ellsworth when they come and they're like, what do you mean I have to go somewhere else? And we're like, oh, it's over in your place, do you know where that's at? And we have to explain. So then they have to leave here, then go there and vote. And so I think with what Tina's doing is a great idea with one ward, because the confusion of them thinking that they were supposed to all come here versus another ward was a lot for people to take in.
And we have to do something called VPH at the end of the election, which is voter participation history. And each ward, you scan the voter at the end, you know, to make sure all your numbers come out correctly. We've noticed a lot of times, very simple, easy thing to do, like our registers are unfortunately letting people vote in a ward they shouldn't be, which messes up our ward number. To avoid that, one location would totally do away with that. We wouldn't even have to worry about it. But
And I do know that you've been having some difficulty trying to find people to work the wards,
Correct.
and I do understand consolidation. I'm just not sure if Woodlawn is the best I'm just thinking of traffic going up, and then would it be, they'd be exiting on that downside?
so they've redone that whole thing up there.
Right.
It's beautiful. And there's plenty of space now for traffic to go both ways. So they go up one way and out the other, which is actually a good thing. And it's got accessibility where the handicap parking is now. You guys are familiar, you've been up there recently, right?
I have not.
Okay, so they've redone their whole parking lot. So now they have 120 parking spaces, and I only need to have 100. And it's very hard in
For the
Ellsworth.
entire city, you only need 120
Yeah,
or 100?
100. Yeah.
How many do we have out here?
I don't know how many, we only had 2 wards out here, so we didn't have to have 100.
Gotcha.
So, and there is like a great accessibility. So they have they made like a little roundabout, like where you drive up to the entrance and you can just drive right out. So we have the ability to now to have people, handicapped people, even be dropped off there so they can come in and vote, to make it easier for them to be able to vote. And we have the ability now to have actual proper handicap spaces and parking right there, right in front of the building. And the parking lot itself, the upper parking lot is large. So, it's a perfect place to do voting, because you can walk in an entrance, you have a great like entryway, like a foyer, it's huge, where we would put like our register of voters and stuff, so they would be separate from actually where you go in to vote. And then you have a small hallway, which we can have all our information in, like our sample ballots and our information pertaining to the election. And then the barn itself is 40 by 40, so that allows us to have ample space to have all our booths that we need. So you need to have one booth for 200 people. And our booths are the 4 roundabouts, so we would need 11 of those.
And we already have those?
We do.
Okay.
Yep.
Um,
I had to
Is
buy
there-
one more this year because we increased in our voters because of the presidential. We usually end up increasing quite a bit, but this year was a little over 200,
okay.
so.
So I'm assuming there's a cost gonna be associated with renting the Woodlawn,
Correct, but,
but you dropped the other two, but I was wondering like how much
Right.
more it's going to be.
so they gave me a cost of 1,300. The original cost was through the roof, but we ended up working with them and explaining, what this pertains, and, we could have a 5-year contract, and I was doing 5 years because I wanted to get through the next presidential. So I wanted to have a set place for the presidential. And I figure if we're gonna do it, this would be the year to do it, because we don't have any big elections set in place right now, and it would be a great time to get our feet on the ground. And
So we're not a voting committee, so, I mean,
No,
we
it's
can
not
make a
voting,
recommend.
but I wanted to put this on your radar that I am bringing this to council. I'm having a public hearing, and I didn't want you guys to be blindsided by this when I came up
So
for
one
the
thing,
January meeting.
I think for the January meeting, I think it would be important for you to show the cost for what it is as an election in all 4 wards, including the cost of your staff, the
Rentals.
your rentals and your election workers, and compared to what the cost would be. I think
Okay.
that would probably be a really good thing to include in it.
Since we're at a
Make some notes.
finance meeting, could I just ask, what are you paying for right now, I assume you're not paying for City Hall?
No.
Correct,
Our rental
so-
fees are range around $600 for the other 2 locations.
Each
No,
Together.
combined, yeah.
around $300 a piece, or is
Yeah.
it divided differently?
No, $300 a piece per
Okay,
election-ish.
so, and tell me how you're gonna process the same number of people with no extra staff.
Very easily.
Okay.
So, the reason you have to have as many people as you do in each ward is because it's mandatory that you have so many Democrats, so many Republicans, and a warden and a ward clerk. You need to have all of the staff per ward. So we're only gonna have to have one set of that staff at one ward. And this past election, it was really hard to find people to work. I bet.
Because they're basically doing it for free, correct?
No, we're paying them.
Well,
They get minimum wage.
right, I mean,
Yeah,
you're
they
not,
get a, it depends on the position you have, like whether you're warden or ward clerk or
but
registrar.
basically it's for free. They're not, I mean, they're getting paid their lunch, right? I mean, that's, minimum wage job isn't, for a
Yeah.
few, one day.
Right.
It's not a lot of money.
No.
Right.
$150 probably.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
per person.
And what's the rush? I'm troubled by the rush, and I'm also troubled with,
It actually hasn't been a rush, it's just I haven't brought this to you guys. Because I have been trying to get all my ducks in a row to plan this, and I've had this in the making with Woodlawn since last year. And, it has
Woodlawn-
now finally come, their board has finally, got all their problems and their questions answered, and
I'm sorry I'm talking so much.
No,
but
it's
boy,
fine.
Oh, boy, what a shock.
I know, that's why I didn't wanna
What a
blindside you
shock.
guys, but I
And,
just.
and is there, Woodlawn doesn't pay any taxes to the city of Ellsworth, correct?
Correct.
That is
Okay.
correct.
And they
because
want
they're
us to pay $1,300.
nonprofit. Yeah, it's pretty much operational costs, because they have to have personnel there. And they have to keep the barn running for the 3
Is there
days,
a-
actually. I'm renting it for 3 days. Because you have to rent it the day before to set up, the day after to tear down. And the day of, which is on average 16 hours,
$1,300 a day, or is it 1,300 for the total?
the whole thing, yeah. It was originally 6,000,
Hmm.
which was a no for me, that's why I said, oh, sorry, can't do that.
They wanted $6,000.
Well, it was the previous director, because I think she was just going
I don't
off-
care who the director is, they wanted $6,000 in the beginning.
The previous director did, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Not the director now, but it was
They
brand
pay
new.
no
and-
taxes in Ellsworth, and they want $6,000 to have an
It was
election in their
brand new,
building.
and I think they were going off what they charge for weddings.
I'm sorry, I'm so disgusted by this, but to shut out voters and to rush this thing through, I'm not a fan.
So I also did a comment card. So I do have, any voter can go on, I wanted to get all of their feedback. So I wanted them to be a part of this. So I have a consolidation comment card on our website right now to get anybody's concerns that I might be able to address beforehand, or questions they have regarding it. So, I haven't got anything bad back yet.
So the public hearing, is it to say that it's being held at Woodlawn?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not comfortable with that either, without having a lot of the other counselors to chip in. I'm so sorry, I don't think that,
It's okay.
so,
I figured I would try.
yeah.
I have,
What's the matter with one of our schools, if you're gonna centralize it?
So,
Amy.
so we actually.
I figured that would come up.
Well, what's the
actually-
matter with another location? I mean, the centralization thing I
The
get, but
location's really hard because you've gotta find a place that has parking. And believe me, I have looked everywhere within the city. I have spent years since Heidi and I have been working on this, trying to find a location that would work, and I finally have. And, I'm actually really excited about it, so I'm a little bummed at the moment that it's not going all that well with you guys, but, I really think this is the best interest for the city and the citizens.
So I was a part of several meetings last year talking about this. This is not a new issue. People have complained about the voting spots for a while. And so we came together a couple of times last year to talk about solutions. And one of the things we talked about was Ellsworth High School. Some municipalities across the state do have their schools do that, but it's really complicated. You basically have to shut down your PE classes for a couple of days. Your sports are affected if it's sports season in November. There's a lot of pieces to it, not to mention if there's protesting, if there's safety issues, and we talked about all of those things. The school was willing to try it. The problem is, you can't just try it. If you determine that the high school is the voting location and it doesn't go well, you're locked in to continue using it for a while. If I recall, it's a couple of years, I
It
believe.
is.
Because it's a state rule. So it's not like we could try the June referendum, work out kinks and say, this didn't work, we're gonna go somewhere else in November. You can't do that.
well, you got the same problem at Woodlawn, though.
Yes.
And
You're locked in.
frankly, and I know I'm not gonna be popular here, but we close our schools and City Hall on a slippery road in Maine, okay? And we can close them if it's might snow, but we all live in Maine, and I know I'm being very vocal here, and please forgive that, but it's an honest feedback. We close our schools, we close City Hall, for safety reasons, okay? And I understand that theory. But if you can close it for a potential storm, I would think you could close it for an election day.
But it's more than one, Steve, and then that affects
Okay.
the calendar, which affects the county school departments. Like, there's a domino effect to it. I
get
hear
it.
you.
I get it.
We
but this-
mentioned that. We talked about
But
that.
this
We looked
affects,
into it.
this affects the voters, what you're doing too.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And having lived in Ellsworth and having used to vote at the community place, like, they were very lovely, but it is, you cannot get in and out of there. And some people would literally try to pull in and pull out
Out of where?
Ward 2.
behind Sunrise
I thought we were talking
Labs.
about the high school.
Your place community.
No.
I'm
No,
just
she's
saying,
talking about
I'm
the
talking
issues.
about the history
I'm
of the
talking about
issues.
I'm talking about the high school. is
Yeah,
what I'm
the high
talking
school-
about. Or one of our schools that's centrally located and putting everything under one roof to satisfy her need. And if it doesn't work, you're roped in for 2 or 3 years. But boy, oh boy, oh boy, closing out the voters in this fashion, I am not a favor of that.
Steve, can I just ask a question?
You can.
Why do you think it's closing out the voters? Whether it's at Ellsworth High School or it's at Woodlawn, is it the Woodlawn's location? Is that what you're worried about?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was gonna ask. Thank you.
I'm trying to understand if the high school would
The high
be
school
okay.
is centrally located. Everyone's familiar with the high school.
Oh, so it's a location.
It's very well-known. It's not that I'm against putting everything under one
Okay.
roof, okay? I hear your
That's my question.
concern.
Okay.
But having it up in the sticks that not everyone is familiar with.
Okay.
And you've got somebody that's living tax-free in our town that wants to charge us to be there. I'm troubled with that. And I'm troubled with asking everybody to climb Bridge Hill and go up into a remote area, and people are gonna just say, go home. Now, most people, I would assume, know where the high school is.
Yeah,
And,
okay.
or if you found a way to do it at City Hall, something that our citizens are familiar with,
I would
I'm
love to
with
get
you.
here, believe me.
That's,
I'm with you.
It's not big enough.
Well, okay, but
Believe me. Tried to figure out to do it in the fire department, but we couldn't do it there either.
You couldn't do it down there?
No,
I'm all for the one thing.
there's
I'm
no
with you.
entrance for handicap unless you create a door.
Downstairs?
Mm-hmm.
What's the matter with the garage door?
You can't open a garage door in an election.
You can't, I mean, the heat.
It's huge.
In
Yeah,
number
I mean,
two.
those doors are huge. You
Yeah,
can't-
March,
One person
November,
needs to, yeah.
it would be open all the day. It would, you can't do that.
They could get here easier than we could pay the heat for a day easier than you can go up on that hill. I'm sorry, I'm angered by this whole thing.
Yeah, I'm just trying to do what's best for the citizens, so.
And I'm with you. One spot, I'm not against that.
Yeah.
But boy, I'm against paying to go to Woodland.
Yeah.
Since it's a finance meeting, I figured we might as well talk about the finances.
Well, the reason I did I came to finance was because I was thinking school budget. Like, I was concerned that if I set this election date, June 10th, I wanted to make sure that the budget was gonna be set for that. So I wanted to make sure that Amy can address that issue and say, yes, that they would be ready and prepared for the June 10th.
Because if you
election date.
remember, the last finance meeting I came to, Charlie and Nate talked about the referendum that the school has to go through is always set for the second Tuesday in June, okay, which is June 10th. However, there was a memo that was distributed that explained that there is a possibility, if people weren't ready, to push it to the fourth Tuesday in June, which pushes it back.
24th.
Which then would mean 2 referendums in June and 2 payments for election per se. And so, one of the big things that has been talked about historically, especially last year, what I heard, was council didn't like approving our budget so early when we didn't know what the full picture looked like for the city. And you couldn't put it all together. So we've accelerated our process this year so that you have our information early to try to meet that June 10th deadline so everybody's comfortable with the budget. If we're gonna do a special election or a special referendum, June 24th or 28th,
24th, yeah.
to do the school budget, then we don't have to push as hard, because right now with the way it is, you would have to vote on our budget in April.
Correct.
To then back everything up to have the ballots ready for June 10th and get everything ready, you're looking at your April meeting approving the school budget. And the question that we continue to have is that doable? And does that work for everybody else? Because I'm fast forwarding everything, but if everybody else isn't gonna be ready and you're not gonna have the information you need, I'm pushing my people really, really, really hard right now to meet that April deadline. If we're not gonna be able to approve it in April, then we need to know that, because that gives us until May.
You can approve the budget in the May meeting instead of April meeting.
If you do June 24th.
Correct. It just would be a possibility of having 2 elections that month, which
So,
would cost the city.
because the number, and I've experienced this, the number of people that vote on the school budget compared to a presidential or
Right.
a gubernatorial election, is there any way that we can just have the whole thing here for the June meeting? You still have to have the 4 wards.
Yeah, you have to, that's,
This has taken on a whole bunch of
Yeah.
different directions
Right.
in this conversation, but backing up a little bit, what is it? There's been some talk about eliminating this referendum for the school budget.
I already looked into that, it can't happen.
they can.
So the talk wasn't valid?
No, it's been confirmed by the lawyer. I actually have,
Yeah.
the wording from the lawyer, which I thought Charlie had given out, but I guess not. A lawyer, one of John's lawyers in his office deals strictly with, like, municipal school budget type of situations. And he gave me the wording that once you put out the budget to a referendum, it has to continue that way until the citizens vote it down.
And so we asked that question a year or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And voters said, we want to continue having a voice in the school budget, so we have to keep doing it.
Until you go out to election again.
Yes, and then
And
if the
it's every
voters say no.
It's every 3
Right.
years.
3
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be next
Well,
year.
I don't want to do anything that they're not involved in, but my point since I've been here is this. If you're going to put one out, put the other out. And I don't know what it takes legally to do that, but if we're going to vote on the school budget, put the whole budget out. Vote on the municipal side.
Now we
And-
need to change our charter
Right,
because, yep,
okay,
yep.
but whatever's gotta be done's gotta be done, because doing half of it and not the other is an exercise.
And I'll also give you a heads up, you do that, it gives the chance to have multiple, you'll end up paying for multiple elections.
Okay, well, beyond that, to speak to your situation, and I realize I'm being pretty vocal here, but to speak to your situation, you've been ahead of the game the whole time. It's the city side, the municipal side, that has been the problem. I don't know how many times I've sat at this table and
Historically,
saying, well, the school's here, but I need to know this before we can go collectively, because otherwise, we have to cut our budget on the municipal side, but it's because the school's got their homework done. It's the municipal side that's been the problem from day one.
Historically, absolutely.
And until this municipal side gets their act together and
And I think it's coming.
goes in conjunction with the school, it's never going to change. You know, you getting ahead of the curve is fabulous,
Yeah.
but we need to get ahead of the curve. We need to be on her curve.
And I think our new people are on top of it more. Like, I feel confident
It's the best
based
it's
on
ever
our,
been.
based on our conversations with them, that they're getting caught up, are ahead of the game, and are working hard. I think that's ultimately the question. Like, is April doable for everybody, or May? And I think that's ultimately, it
the
continues to
question.
sound like I should be ready for April. So we just wanted to make sure that everybody understood. That's a part of this too. The June 10th, 1st, 24th, that's all a part of a bigger conversation. It's not just the consolidation of polling, it's the voting on the budget too, and the timelines we have for that.
If you can do it, the municipal side ought to be able to do it.
Well, it's just a lot more departments.
I understand.
Not to.
So I think
But it's a
that, yes, but I
50-50
think
budget.
that we need to have that conversation with Charlie and
Yes.
the
Yeah,
finance
but-
committee.
And
So,
Nate.
Correct.
because I just, so, yeah, I have to
Yes.
leave at 9, so
Yep,
I'm
me too,
sorry.
me too.
Just I didn't know how long the
But
next
regardless, I'll reiterate that if she can get her act together, there's no reason we can't get ours together.
And I think that they're working on that.
Agree.
It's best it's ever been,
Yeah, for sure.
to their
agree.
credit.
Yeah,
sure.
I agree. So I guess I'll just can it. So,
I definitely can't change the school calendar now to accommodate shutting down the school for several election days for the next several years. I mean, the ship has sailed for calendar discussion for the next school year. It hasn't been formally voted on by the board yet, but the county has already put everything in place. And we drive county school calendars because of HCTC and the state law around us having similar days. So I think that's, I mean, we certainly could have another conversation about having it at the school, but it is really complicated to have it at the school.
Maybe we should have something on the agenda to talk about it as an entire council and to
So
come
it's
up with
dead
different
completely.
ideas that may be an option, so.
Yeah.
Central
That's-
location sounds great, if it's
Mhm.
central
I
location.
think they support the idea. I think it's the paper.
yeah. Believe me, spent years searching
I
to
know,
find
it's
a
hard.
place.
If we get a new HCTC and we get a new,
Right.
then we can.
Even then, it's gotta be central.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Thanks, guys. Sorry to take up more time.
Hi, Mara.
Hi. So mine's quick and easy.
I wasn't sure how long. I was like, oh my goodness,
We
I
could probably do this in 5 minutes,
oh,
unless you want to table it for next time, so.
no, I think this is,
No, you're
let's
here.
start the discussion and yeah, absolutely.
All right, so, before you, I kind of handed out this little information. And there's this packet from Reach, who is our current website hosting service, and there's a quote on the inside, so just so you're prepared for that. So we've been in discussions, just so everyone else knows, I'm the communications director, my name's Laura Condon, nice to meet you. And so Charlie, myself, and our IT department have been discussing our website. We've had some comments here and there about its kind of user friendliness, let's say, and its aesthetics appearance. So we've been kind of exploring what can we do to improve that situation, and we've been surveying websites, municipal websites across the state, across the country, and they're all kind of shifting in a different direction for layout and theme. Functionally, our website's more or less working fine. So what you have before you is a quote from Reach, who is our current website provider. We looked at them and we looked at another servicer, Civic Plus, who's doing a lot of municipal websites. They just redid Bangor's website, if you've seen that change. And so we kind of looked between the two options. Should we stay with Reach? Should we go to a different servicer who would, you know, they'd have this like kind of built-in, kind of a little bit more structured package of what you can do with it, but it comes at a higher cost. Bangor, their website, to redo it was about $59,000. Whereas when we went to Reach, we've had great reliability with them, great customer service, they're very responsive, and the website that we have through them is a WordPress website, which makes it very easy on my end, on IT's end, to do stuff with it. I can go in on the back end really quickly and make updates. And so kind of considering these factors, we decided to put out a proposal to Reach, or met with them and see if we could refresh the website through them, what would they recommend? So they came back with this kind of mock-up for a homepage. Kind of show it to you both as well. And so this is just a different layout that's in theme with more user experience recommendations, where you have the key services up top. You have an accessible banner up top as well with the drop downs instead of currently where we have it on the sidebars. We have a nice feature image up front, which could also be a video, but to just kind of streamline where people are going, we have the quick links right there. We have news and announcements, which would still be similar to what we have right now. You could click into that. And then kind of what a nice feature is, we have our calendar on the homepage as well, and that's tied into events now. That could be community events that are currently going on, as well as public meetings too. Then at the bottom, we just have, city services again. But this is all super customizable through Reach, through our WordPress layout right now. And so one of the reasons why we're considering doing this kind of change, a facelift to the website, is modern websites, they foster community engagement, right? This is our front door to the community for people who aren't in Ellsworth, who might want to move here, who might want to do business here. This kind of sets a precedent of what our city represents. Websites on average, they go through a refresh maybe 3 to 5 years. City of Portland has one every 5 years. And so ours was last done in 2016, so it's been a little while.
Time, yeah, it's been a long time.
And so it just kind of puts us in a more modern, refreshed look. And one of the things we have to do by 2027 is we have to make our website ADA compliant. This is, federal law. So we have lots of time to do that. One of the easy ways is we just put a plugin, and Reach quotes that plugin in their package. And that's very simple to do. So going to the quote, when we talked to them, we were like, if you just did the first quote that you have before your homepage redesign and logo, that's just them redoing the homepage, and kind of reorganizing the rest of the website to look for a similar theme. But the rest of the work would kind of fall on myself to, over time, update the website, go through each department page, I'd go through each kind of like the park pages and update that myself on the back end, which, that could take a couple months, but if I do a couple pages a week, that's not that bad. So that saves some money on that end. They offered to do a logo design. We're also in discussion about putting out a request for qualifications for other branding companies to do a logo design for us as well, so that would kind of be involved with this process. And currently, they host us for $129 a month, which is a pretty good deal. And then we'd also get a client discount for this. Now, if you go to the other quote on the other page, that is going to be for $10,050. And that is due to them taking more of the whole website redesign on their end, not me doing it. So they have that under implementation, where you kind of see where that $7,200 cost is. So we have kind of an option between $2,900 to $10,050 if we were to do this website redesign. And they're very flexible, very easy to work with. We've been working with them for years, and so myself and IT, we feel very comfortable continuing this partnership with them, and instead of going to a different servicer, like Nate has built our tax lookup in there himself through WordPress, and so we've been able to have a pretty boutique website, and this would just be kind of upping it a little bit. Any questions? Sorry, I spoke really fast. I hope you caught that all.
I'll go.
Yes.
So you got two proposals, one for $2,900, one for $10,000,
Correct.
both from Reach.
Yes.
And what was the cost again from the other?
So when the city of Bangor, they worked with Civic Plus, and they also had a package for mass notifications in with that as well. That's about $6,000. So that makes the city of Bangor's website right around, $53,000, $54,000 to redo a website with a contract that has a 5% uplift every year. But, that's just for the implementation and redoing everything. On average, it'd probably be per year for their website, maybe about somewhere in between $10,000 and $20,000 a year, I'd say.
So, back to this, Reach.
Yes.
This is an Ellsworth company.
Yes, they're part of Ellsworth American.
That's what I thought. I wanted that for the record.
Yes,
So
they're local.
They're part of this community. They're contributing to this community. That's an easy one for me. And the other part of that is, if you're going to spend any city time and anything doing this, my wish would be to go to the $10,000 one and get it over with.
Yeah.
Be done, one and done, and it's a member of our community that contributes to our community. To me, between 29 and 10, I'd vote for 10 every time. That's
Great.
just me.
I agree, just because I was part of that whole restructure, and it took a really, really long time because, and so you doing all that legwork is
Yeah,
tough.
it does, and
And
it
being
frees me
pulled
up.
in so many directions. So I do agree that the 10,000.
Okay.
So, that's, But again, because it's under the $15,000 limit,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wouldn't need a formal approval, but I'm
Right.
glad that you did bring it to us.
Yes,
so-
yes, Charlie wanted
Absolutely.
to share this with you
And,
all.
Yeah.
Yep, and so was this budgeted for, and how much was in the budget
This
for it?
is not yet budgeted, I would recommend this maybe next fiscal year.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
this is for next year,
Yeah,
okay.
I would recommend that. I don't, unless Charlie would prefer otherwise, I think we can, because one of the things we'd like to do first is set out that RFQ just to see what the branding aspect might be first before we go into the website redesign.
Okay, so this would be an FY, oh goodness, 26.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
That would be my
So, yeah,
recommendation, yes.
yeah, so.
Okay. Any
That's
other-
I
great
do
info.
like the idea
Yeah.
of it being somebody in Ellsworth as well, and.
Yeah, we've had wonderful experiences with them.
Yeah.
I send them an email, within an hour, they're right back at me.
No kidding,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's great.
Great.
All right.
And thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Maura.
All right.
Any comments from the audience?
Anything?
Regarding revising the city website,
Can you come up to the speaker? Sorry, Ray.
please don't read this one.
For the people watching. Or
Okay,
live.
my first question is, did you have a meeting last week,
No,
Finance Committee?
no.
Okay. I couldn't find it, so I figured you didn't, okay. City website. 2016 was when this one was incorporated, okay. And there was what, one other revision form before that, or several, but I will say, this was a marked improvement over what the city had before 2016. That was an abomination.
Yes, it was.
This one, I think is fairly good. I don't get into this stuff, and I don't think any of them work the way I feel they should work, and they should work a lot easier for people that are just coming on looking for certain things. But I don't know, I think probably it might be good to look at redoing it, because it's still, I find at times, it's hard to find stuff that's there. Now, one thing I'm going to go and look is what Tina was talking about. She apparently has something kind of questionnaire about this new ward changing proposal on, but I've got to go and try and figure out, I'm assuming it is probably in elections.
More
but-
right now.
But, it's probably not going to be easy for me to find, or for most people to find. And the reason she probably hasn't had any comments is no one knows it's there, because that proposal, this is the first I have heard of it, but apparently it's been, some staff people have been working on it for as much as 2, 3, or 4 years, because she mentioned that the previous, well, we've gone through 2 or 3 short-term city clerks, but the previous long-term one was apparently looking into it. And it sounds to me that, no current members of this council have had any idea that it's even been going on. So I've covered two things, but I do think it probably wouldn't hurt to study the website, and I would agree that if Reach has been doing a good job, do it. I still think there's probably still things that can be done that can make it easier for the not really adept computer geeks and nerds, and even if they aren't geeks and nerds, the people who do it more can get onto it and find stuff than us that don't. But when I have something that I want to find, I'd like to find it easily and not have to spend half an hour mucking around through that thing, which I still think, moving it from the side to having it drop down, it's still not going to solve all of my problems. So,
To just speak to that, if I may, I would like to compliment you, Maura. Since you have been here, I think that website that we have has continually gotten better. It may not be to the level that that Mr. Williams is looking for. But there's been vast improvement since you have been here, and I realize that it's still on the potter's wheel turning, but you have made some big improvements, and this looks like another one of your improvements to me.
Thank you, and just real quick, just to make a couple clarifications, you can find Tina's information about the elections on our website. It is under the elections webpage. You can find that under our city services tab. If you're on the homepage, it's on the
Yeah,
left-hand
it's- yeah,
side, so
yeah.
you'll find it there. And that has only been recently put up there, and that is because she was just coming, she knew she was coming to this meeting first, and so we wanted to broach the topic here before we made the announcement that that information was, more available right there. But it is up there, it is live, so even if after this meeting you'd like to go check that out, you may. And I'm very happy to hear your thoughts on the website, Mr. Williams, and kind of one of the reasons we are doing it is to make it easier for you to find items and key services, so you're not kind of mucking around in there.
Okay, thank you.
I'm glad you're interested. Too many people aren't.
True statement.
Yeah. Anyone else?
John Linehan, 157 Shore Road in Ellsworth. I agree 100% with Tammy and with Steve on the decision on their opinion on the location is incorrect, where to consolidate the wards. I agree with Tina 100%. The consolidation is much needed here in the city of Ellsworth. I think the only place that works, and I know it's a little inconvenient for the school, is to have it at the high school or the elementary school, either one, but the high school seems to be the right one to me. So I appreciate your comments on that. I support you both 100%, and I support Tina trying to consolidate.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Anyone else? Steve, you got anything else to say? Ashley? Nothing?
We're reconciled.
Oh,
Yay! Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's
we're
amazing.
reconciled. I spoke to Nate yesterday. So we're reconciled for 2024, and the auditors have everything they need as of right now, until they come back
That
requesting
is-
more.
Oh, my
So-
goodness. That is awesome.
Just so.
That's a lot
out
of
there.
work. Thank
It
you.
is a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Next week will be big finance.
Freaky Friday?
yes.
Is it next week?
It is
Okay.
next week, yep, second. Yep, we'll have the printout next week, yep.
All right, thank you all.